Hello and welcome to another episode of Giant Mess, a super sloppy sports and entertainment talk show that covers Giants football, Mets baseball, movies, TV shows, and comedy. It's got some life lessons mixed in for good measure. It's hosted by Giant Mess. That's me, the Real Cinch Neal Lynch. I'm a former college quarterback and pitcher. On today's episode, we'll talk some Giants football. We have hired a new offensive line coach, Carmen Bricillo. Where in the world is Carmen Bricillo? He's in East Rutherford, New Jersey. We'll talk about the never-ending Brian Daboll and Wink Martindale Saga. Now, I know Saga can be overused, but I feel like it's definitely freaking appropriate when it comes to those two. And then the Mets. We'll finish up with the Mets, y'all. The Mets have avoided arbitration with Pete Alonso. What kind of dollar bills, y'all, are we going to be paying Pete Alonso, the polar bear? And some other off-season news and notes. Not a whole lot going on there, but we got about a month till pitchers and catchers, so maybe we could pick it up a little bit with the acquisitions and the signings and the whatnots. I don't know if I'm feeling that great about what's going on with the Metros this offseason, but this is kind of what I asked for, right? So ask and ye shall receive. So without further ado, let's get it started up in here. Let's talk New York Football Giants. We have an offensive line coach. His name is Carmen Bricillo. Where in the world is Carmen Bricillo? Great question. He's in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Formerly of the Las Vegas Raiders. Highly respected and touted. Looks a lot like Brian Daboll. So, narcissist much? Dabes? Narcissist much? He finished his just finished his second season as the offensive line coach with the Raiders. This was his fifth season at the NFL level. He spent the previous 3 seasons with the Patriots, 2 years as their offensive line coach after being promoted from coaching assistant in 2022. Despite starting 7 different offensive line combinations, Bricillo's group paved the way for a rushing attack that averaged 4.81 yards per carry, second highest average in franchise history. Raiders rushers were also stuffed for a loss, tackled for loss, or no gain only 68 times that season, the fewest in the NFL. And I mean, I can hear you through the ether, through the webs. Josh Jacobs. Yeah, I hear you. Josh Jacobs. Very good running back. So I think that has something to do with it. But at the same time, 7 different offensive line combinations. We have friggin' Saquon Barkley. If he sees those number of combinations, he's not putting up the numbers that Josh Jacobs is. Now, is that a condemnation, a criticism of Saquon? Yeah, a little bit. But that's just, that's just something that Bobby Johnson could not pull off. In 2021, running back Damian Harris rushed for 15 touchdowns, the second most in franchise history for the Patriots. Pats recorded 24 rushing touchdowns, third most in franchise history. 146.6 rushing yards per game in 2020, ranked 7th in franchise history, and was the best rushing attack for New England since '83. So, it's pretty good. And yeah, I hear you. But, Brady left in 20, right? So the fact that Brady leaves and the rushing attack, which they needed to depend on because they have Mac Jones, rookie starter, Cam Newton, who was at that point not, not at his prime, not at his peak, which was 5 years prior in 2015. So, pretty damn good, I have to say. From 2010 to 2018, Bricillo spent 9 years coaching the offensive line at Youngstown State. During his time with the program, he coached 15 All-Missouri Valley Conference selections, and the Penguins advanced to the 2016 FCS National Championship game. The offense set multiple school records during his tenure with total yards per game, rushing yards, completion percentage, passing yards, passing touchdowns, and points per game. So, feels like wherever this guy goes, offensive line thrives. Or the offense thrives. Or the rushing game thrives. Not so much the passing game. So, that will be interesting. And we are, as much as I'd like us to open it up and really spread the field through the air vertically, we are a run-first team. Like, our success is predicated on the run. Saquon needs to run. Daniel Jones needs to run. And when they both run successfully, we win games. And we go to the playoffs and we win a playoff game. When we don't run the ball, and you have to rely on Daniel Jones to throw the ball 30-plus times, 40-plus times, that is like we almost never win those games. So, yeah, let's get that run game going again. That'll open up the pass for DJ. Bing, bang, boom, playoffs. Bricillo played center at Duquesne, earning first-team All-Conference honors in 95 and 96, and he won 2 league championships, including the school's first-ever Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference MAC title in 95. So, yeah, he's had success as an offensive lineman, which I think, I know might seem, I don't know, trivial is the word, but, like, that's important to me. Did you experience success at the thing that you're coaching? Like, yeah. You did? Okay. Well, then you're doing something right, and maybe you can help pass along that wisdom and that knowledge that made you so good to the guys that you're coaching. So, good hire. You know, I think it was Talking Giants pointed out that when we hired Bobby Johnson, the offensive line coach we just fired, all the Bills fans were like, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Good riddance. And we were like, ooh. With this one, I guess a lot of Raiders fans are like, oh, you're getting a good one. Damn it, I'm so pissed we let him out the door. So that's a good sign. And I think we also hired a running backs coach and a strength and conditioning guy. Still no defensive coordinator yet. I know that a lot of dream scenarios have us hiring Antonio Pierce as defensive coordinator, which I just do not see happening. I think given what he did with the Raiders as interim coach, the Raiders will be stupid to the max to not hire him as the full-time permanent head coach. I mean, like Max Crosby wants a trade. He requested a trade if they don't hire Pierce as the head coach. So I know he officially interviewed with them. And I think the Falcons, a couple other teams might have requested an interview with him. And yeah, dude, it makes sense. He turned around that team completely. I mean, the first game he coached was against the Giants, and we all went to that game and we're like, well, normally when this kind of shenanigans shit happens for other teams, that usually comes out. It's a good sign for us, but like, we just have a history of like, if there's any kind of major change at the quarterback or coaching or at coach level or quarterback position or something major going on, we'll lose that game for sure. And I think the players like him. They want to play for him. And it would be nice to have him as defensive coordinator, but I think he's got the goods to be the head coach, and he's proven himself, so let him be the head coach at Las Vegas. And then the people are talking about Bill Belichick returning to the Giants. I don't know necessarily as a defensive coordinator, but man, that would be fucking hilarious. If he's like, yep, I'm going to go back to my roots. It's a full circle moment for me. Hakuna Matata. Life finds a way. I am going back to where I started as the defensive coordinator in the New York football. I mean, like, that would be what? Unreal. And that would be such a fucking silly, hilarious Belichick move. So I'm not completely ruling it out. But as most talking heads have said, he's probably going to want to be the head coach. And I know the Falcons requested an interview. The Commanders are probably interested. And if you watched any playoff football this past weekend with the Cowboys and the Eagles going down in the wild card round as the 2 and the 5, both teams, there are now people speculating that, Belichick is going to possibly go and be hired by one of those two teams, which, dude, don't do it. Apparently before he joined New England, he talked to Jerry Jones and he said, keep me in mind if you ever have the position open. So he did want to be the head coach of the Cowboys, which drives me wild. Because, I don't know, you see a lot of players, like former Giants players, and even if they went to a different team, like an O.C. Umenyiora, like a Carl Banks, like a Pepper Johnson, like a lot of the guys that had pretty much all their success with the Giants but then went to another team, They always tout once a Giant, always a Giant, and they always without fail are rooting against the Eagles, Cowboys, and Commanders. Always. So it broke my heart when Bill Parcells was the coach of the Cowboys. Like, what are you doing, dude? Why are you doing this to us? So many teams. 25 plus teams that you could go to that aren't in our division. Literally, you can go to any other NFC team, and I'd be cool with it. Just not in our division. So, really hope Belichick, now that he's done with New England, does not make his way to the city of brotherly love or the Big D. That would be tremendous. Go anywhere else. Anywhere else. And so, now that he's done at Foxborough, Gerard Mayo will be the head coach. I think he'll be the youngest head coach in the NFL, right? And my buddy, who's a Pats fan, was telling me, oh, check this out. Bill Belichick had it in his contract that in 2 years, so this is not like unheard of or a shock or surprise for Bill Belichick, because I guess it was written in his contract that within 2 years, it would be a 2-year to 3-year process where he's going to have Gerard Mayo like shadowing him, and then it's in his contract that once Belichick steps down or is let go, that Gerard Mayo has to be the head coach. So he was grooming, which I don't know if I should be using the word grooming, with the Epstein lists coming out recently, but he was basically developing Gerard Mayo to be the next head coach. So, is Gerard Mayo going to be like the next Mike Tomlin? Which Mike Tomlin is an interesting story that's going on now. Never had a losing season in 17 seasons. He's now the longest active tenured coach. Took a Steelers team that had no right going to the playoffs into the postseason and put a little fear into Buffalo. I mean, I know on paper and for most of that game, it looked like a blowout, but like they fought. And if not for a Mason Rudolph interception in the red zone in the goal to go situation and a couple of costly turnovers, I feel like it's a lot closer than people give it credit for. So with Mason Rudolph, dude, and no TJ Watt, so it's like, I don't know, I think a lot of people would love to have Mike Tomlin as their coach, and it's just wild that Pittsburgh would ever consider parting ways with him. But if he's done, maybe he's fed up and done with Pittsburgh and he's just like, I just need a change of scenery. So yeah, no updates on the defensive coordinator. And this is going to be how I finish out the Giants section, really. I don't really have too much other than this, because I'm going to do the mock drafts at a later date when we get closer to there. The new chapter in the Brian Daboll, Wink Martindale saga, and it's not hyperbole to say saga, because this thing refuses to die. The saga continues, now with Pat Leonard of the New York Daily News, his article, which I guess is behind a paywall. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, New York Daily News. I guess it's $9 for the year, which actually is not a bad deal. But it was essentially saying that Brian Daboll is too aggressive. He can't control his temper, no self-control, no self-discipline. Throws his coaches and players under the bus, berates them in front of other players, coaches on camera. And this was a criticism that happened when we were down, when we were like 1-4, 1-5 going into Buffalo. And like how he reamed out Tyrod Taylor after the mismanagement of the clock towards the end of that first half. Missed a scoring opportunity, cost us the game, no big deal. Possibly the season. But the quote that has been circulating says that over the headset during the Washington Commanders game at Washington, when it was 24-19, I think was the score, he says to Wink over the headset, "You're going to lose us this game just like you lost us the Jets game." Whoa, dude. It was, again, anonymous sources, unnamed people close to the situation, leaking that, and this might be Wink Martindale's camp leaking it just to make Daboll look like an asshole. If that's the case, it's like, dude, just move on. we loved you. We love what you did for our defense. We love the identity and personality that you brought to the defense. But just I don't know. Wink Martindale doesn't have exactly the best history of having good working relationships. He had a pretty sweet deal in Baltimore, and then he couldn't cut it with Harbaugh there. So I mean, best of luck to Wink, but it just sounds like they both. It's just a major clash, big clash of personalities. The article also apparently cites the fact that Daboll took play calling duties away from Mike Kafka multiple times, and would often criticize him over the headset, agree with the run call, but then the run is called, and he's like, why are we running the ball? And I guess he gave play calling duties to Shea Tierney, the QB coach, which is wild. I wonder which game that was. But I guess it was the last 5 games were all Kafka. So, and you saw maybe something like that was effective because you saw the difference between our points per game in the first half, first 3 quarters, versus the previous 12 games versus the last 5 games. With the exception of New Orleans, which I thought was just all around a fucking clown show. But against the Eagles twice, putting up 27 and 25. Against the Rams, putting up 25, 24, which should have been more. Thank you, Tyrod. Thank you, Mason Crosby. So I think Kafka kind of got back to doing things in a way that were more acceptable to Daboll. It's tough, Like I've said before, Bill Parcells, plenty of times where he's been, screaming at Phil Simms on the sidelines, screaming at a offensive lineman for a false start, or defensive guy for whatever. Plenty of clips of that happening. But he won. He only had the one real bad season, 83. I don't know if you can even count 87. Only had 2 losing seasons, 83 and 87. 83 first year, 87 strike year. So whatever he was doing was working. But again, I don't know that style of coaching necessarily works in the modern day. And so what I don't like is, I don't think Parcells, I don't know, I guess I could very well see Parcells doing that, chewing out. I think there's even clips of him chewing out Belichick. What are we doing? What the fuck are you doing? So, it's early. We could look back on this year, 5 years from now, and be like, well, he just didn't have the right people around him. He just needs his people. And I think that's kind of what, and maybe if this is next level troll genius shit, if he wasn't happy with the fact that he didn't get to hire the people that he wanted the first go round, that there was probably a lot of input from, maybe not Shane, but from others in the front office, the ownership. You need to hire this guy. You need to hire this guy. And so this is his way of being like, all right, well, I'm just going to make them look like fools and idiots and look incompetent so that they can either resign or perform so poorly that I can fire them. I can't. That's my paranoia conspiracy brain kicking in. But, Bobby Johnson was a friend of his, didn't work out, and had to let him go. So, the offense stunk this year, and he's supposed to be this offensive-minded coach, right? That's his background, his history, his expertise. And, the defense wasn't the problem. The offense put our defense in really poor situations, which we've said about a million times. The numbers, the reason why our defense ranks so low is because the offense put them in, really just unforgiving scenarios. So, but it does sound like a toxic work environment. But if it's that toxic, how the hell did we finish so strong? That's what I don't get. And it wasn't against shitty teams. The Rams were good. The Eagles are whatever. I mean, they have a good roster. Who knows what the hell's going on with the Eagles? Eagles fans. Holy shit, dude. Eagles fans. I got roasted in the comments about my video that I released about this time last year when the Eagles smoked the Giants in the divisional round. I said that this is the beginning of the end for the Eagles. I do not see them competing next year. I do not see them, their window has closed. and we're gonna close the gap. We didn't. Although, didn't we? Because you look at how the Eagles finished up the season, how they got trounced in the wild card by Tampa Bay, which 9-8 division winner, not exactly lighting up the score, not exactly. I don't know. I don't think a lot of people saw this Buccaneers team going that far, but getting smoked by the Bucs, getting blown out by the Giants, losing 6-7 to finish out. Jason Kelce retired. A lot of old dogs, veterans. Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. So there could be a lot of turnover. And I have a friend who's an Eagles fan. He gave me the breakdown. He's like, basically, we need a lot of these second-year guys to pay off. If they all pay off, we're in a good spot. If they don't, we're screwed. So with Kelce leaving, that's a major blow to the offensive line. Not that they were able to run the ball that well towards the end of the season. It's like that's how they got their offense going, was through the run with Jalen Hurts as a threat. So things are shitty in Philly. And I couldn't love it any more than I currently am. I mean, I literally, last night, I stayed up till 1 a.m. That game ended pretty early on. I mean, it was 32-9, but it ended, it felt like it was over in the second quarter. Anyway, it ended at 11:15, 11:30? I stayed up till 1 just reading all the comments on Twitter, and it's just, it's just so nice to see their downfall. Because they got so fucking cocky and high on themselves. And all their fan base as well. But Eagles fans, I'm talking to you, I'm looking directly at you. I watch a lot of football. I watch a lot of NFL football. I watch a lot of the NFL playoff football. Postseason football. Never in the 40 plus years that I've been watching NFL football, NFL playoffs, have I ever seen fans of one of the teams playing in the playoffs wear brown bag over their head and carry signs that pleaded and begged for the firing of their head coach. Never. That was shocking and surprising. I mean, and I listened to part of my take with Max, who's a diehard Eagles fan, and his confidence wavered, and it's crazy to think that Sirianni has gone from, well, he's a douchebag, but he's winning, so we love him, to, well, now he's just a douchebag who loses. It's like, you run him out of town. This guy took you to the Super Bowl and lost and almost won. Can you imagine if he won the Super Bowl last year and then puts out this kind of performance this year? I guess once you win a Super Bowl, it buys you, 3-4 years, right? But damn, you lose the Super Bowl, take your team to the postseason the next season, and you could be out. Wild. But I've never seen that from a fan base. Never, dude. Wearing brown bags over their head and carrying signs that said "Fire Sirianni." I mean, it's wild. Wild. And that's that's amazing. And then the Cowboys, dude. So that the Eagles feels like that's a toxic, dysfunctional work environment. Cowboys, I don't think is a toxic, dysfunctional work environment. I think it's just a delusional work environment or something. I don't know. There's talk about McCarthy getting fired, and it's like, that guy's going to the playoffs, I think, every year he's been there. He hasn't won a lot of playoff games, but he's gotten to the playoffs. It's funny because you see posts from Jets fans being like, you're going to fire your head coach that took you to the postseason all 3 of the past 3 seasons? Cool. It's there are plenty of franchises out there who would gladly take a coach that would take them to the postseason all the time, and because at least it gives you there's hope, which gotta be tough being a Cowboys fan, man, to go from your America's team dynasty in the early 90s to mid 90s to literally just crickets, just a mega drought in terms of postseason success. I mean, what are the stats? Baker Mayfield has as many postseason wins as the Cowboys in the past 20 years or something like that. 25 years? 27 years? Whoa, dude. Yeah, so McCarthy could get fired, and he just makes the postseason every year. It's just wild. And I guess I'm a little ashamed, but I'm not completely ashamed to say this, but I I mean, I had a 1% doubt in my brain that the Cowboys would lose to the Packers. I was like, well, Jordan Love's on a tear. You know, I can't believe how many passing touchdowns he's thrown. And ever since the Giants game, it looks like he's like Aaron Rodgers 2.0. But even given that, it's first playoff game. I know C.J. Stroud had a big first playoff game, but like that's C.J. Stroud. You know, Packers defense isn't that great. The Cowboys are unbeatable at home. That was like the big storyline. It was like they have their average winning differential at home is like 17 points, 20 points per game, which is like they just can't lose at home. And not just can't lose, they just dominate completely at home. And their defense is supposed to be like this top 5 defense, Super Bowl defense led by Micah Parsons, who's an animal. Can't be stopped. He was stopped. So I honestly, a bit surprising, you know? And Jerry Jones said it was the most painful loss in the playoffs he's ever experienced. And a lot of people were like, 2007 Giants divisional round? Like, what? You're supposed to beat us handedly and you didn't? But yeah, that is thoroughly embarrassing. So interesting to think that McCarthy could be out of a job. But toxic work environment, it'll be interesting to see how the Giants proceed from here. Because if Shane had to intervene, like GM Joe Shane had to monitor the headsets, listen in on the headsets to see what was going on with Daboll and what he was saying to the rest of the staff and the players, and it's just like, that's not good. That's not a good sign. That feels like micromanaging, and maybe Daboll is micromanaging. So while people want to make the comparison to Parcells in the way that he's fiery and is intense and will get in your face and is no holds barred, I feel like he's following more of the path of Tom Coughlin. So they're not exactly the same guy, right? But if you remember, when Tom Coughlin first was head coach of the Giants in 2004, he immediately got this reputation amongst the players where the players were like, this sucks. He is just way too strict, way too severe, way too harsh, way too demanding, yada, yada, yada. And no one liked his approach. And then it was, I think, before the 2007 season, the players went to him and said, hey, you got to chill out, dude. Like, here are the things that we like. Here are the things we don't like. And so that's when he formed whatever that was called, the leadership group, captain's group or something, where it's like a council of veteran players, respected players in the clubhouse that could serve as leaders and whatnot, and entrusted them with more responsibility and duty, spread it out, and was not this dictator that he originally was. Could that be what happens to Daboll, where this is a wake-up moment for him? Not that he pays much mind to Pat Leonard in the New York Daily News, but like, it's hard for me. It's hard to believe that an organization completely can shut out what's going on in the outside world. If they can, bravo, dude. It's got to be like next to impossible. So there's got to be, I mean, the fact there are leaks, it's probably from Wink Martindale's camp, whatever, to make Daboll look like shit. But still, it's not like fabricated. It sounds like it's based in reality, and it's not that far-fetched. And we've heard rumblings and rumors about and speculation, and we've kind of seen it during the telecast. So it's like, hey, buddy, ease off the gas a little bit. Pump the brake. Like, the fans, I think, are still behind Daboll, but at the same time, you can't have a third year of him just tearing into everyone and losing. I feel like if you come out in season 3, and I think even if you miss the playoffs, I think there's just grounds for dismissal if he continues to behave like this and you don't see results. That just shit does not fly. You know, with Parcells, it was like year 2, we're in the playoffs, we won a wild card game. Year 3, playoffs, won a wild card game. The following year, Super Bowl. Missed the playoffs the next 2 years, but it wasn't like, a strike year, and then they like barely missed the postseason based on like that shitty loss to the Jets. And then 89 playoffs, home field advantage, of course, lose to the Rams, which sucks. That is almost feels along the lines of what's happening with McCarthy and Sirianni, where it's like, dude, we had home field advantage, 12-4, and we lose to the Rams in the divisional game. So, yeah. And then 90, he wins the Super Bowl. And then he's peace out, A-Town. So, huge season for Brian Daboll. It's like, go out there, you didn't like your staff for whatever reason, so it looks like Kafka might be on the outs now. Which sucks. As much shit as I give him, because there are games where it's like, there are stretches and games where you're like, what was the strategy here? What? And there's like head scratchers during key, critical, crucial moments. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kafka leaves or is hired away or whatever. So that, pivotal offseason. Pivotal. Because we thought we had all our ducks in a row. All the dominoes were lined up. Like, we thought it was all, like, we had it right going into last offseason. And it's just like, oh, we're only going to get better. And for, like, that was, like, the talk throughout the entire offseason, throughout the training camp was the Giants have improved. The offense has improved. The defense has improved. Improve. 40-0 blowout at home. Like, I know you want to blame the players, but you look at how players play when they don't like to play for the coach. You look at what happened with Josh McDaniels in Las Vegas. They fucking hated him. Antonio Pierce is the head coach. They play at another level. Is that what's happening with Daboll? A lot of people are saying no, that the players are not quitting on him. And I think I buy it. But, man, oh man, if you miss the postseason, it can't be more than a game. I think he's out of excuses. But and here's his saving grace, or here's why I have hope for him, is because he got off to one of the worst starts in franchise history in the first half-ish, and a lot of other coaches, the wheels would have come off, and we would have looked like absolute dog shit down the stretch. It happened with Ben McAdoo. It happened with Pat Shurmur. It happened with Joe Judge. We look like ass clowns out there. And he didn't let that happen. We finished strong. Despite not winning, like, there was a point where even after we lost to the Raiders, even after we lost to the Saints, we still had a shot at the playoffs. Very low probability, but if we had beaten the Eagles twice and the Rams, win 3 straight, there's a little bit of outside shot. This person loses, that person ties, but, tiebreakers come into effect. So I think that's what saved his job. I mean, this is not a great look for him. And if you're ownership, if you're Joe Shane, you nip this in the bud and you say, here are the things we like, just like they did with Tom Coughlin. Here are the things we like. Here's the things that you need to stop doing. And if you can just curtail the things that are not only bad optics, but apparently are not getting what you need done, and you can kind of heighten and amplify the good things that you do, this team is going to go far. But it's really all on Daboll. There's no more excuses. The spotlight's on him. You can't tell me, oh, this one got hurt and that one got hurt and this blah 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 blah. Get it done. Oh, so that's the Giants. And I don't know if we can talk about the Mets. Can we? Battery's about to die. 6%. We're going to try it. Let's talk Mets. The Metros claimed right-handed pitcher Max Kranick, formerly of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Kranick, my bad. Max Kranick, formerly of the Pittsburgh Pirates, who designated him for assignment, released him, whatever. Off waivers. The righty was designated for assignment, yes, by the Buccos a week ago when they needed a roster spot. This dude, Max Kranick, 6'3", 220, born on July 21st, 1997. He is 26 years of age. Scranton, PA, home of The Office. Drafted by the Pirates in the 11th round of the 2016 June amateur draft. He's from Archibald, Pennsylvania, Valley View High School. Made his debut in June of 2021 at the age of 23. He pitched 5 innings, 0 hits, 3 strikeouts, 0 walks, 0 earned, and a dub in 5 innings of work against the Cardinals. Quite the debut. Damn, homie. And his rookie status is still intact through 2024. I don't believe that. That's got to be a typo. But He's arbitration eligible in 2026, free agent in 2029. So his service time as of January is only 1.1 years. So wouldn't that eliminate him from rookie status? I don't know. But that's pitching is the name of the game at this point, right? Because I don't think you're going to really add a bat that's going to make a difference. Could be wrong about that, but I mean, those are the two major pushes that they've made this offseason is pitching and infield. It feels like they're signing a lot of veteran dudes to minor league contracts or to inviting them to camp to, I guess, compete with Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos and see if they can get the best out of Beatty and Vientos. And if not, you might have to go with like a veteran infielder that maybe shouldn't be in the majors. Oh, boy. Oh, Ronnie Mauricio. How dare you? So pitching is the name of the game. Marcus Stroman signed with the Yankees, which is just, sure, why not? I mean, I think he called the Yankees organization racist, or the Yankees fans are racist. But, I guess you wave enough money in front of his face, he's going to be like, oh, yeah, I can tolerate the racism. This makes the racism go down smooth. And then Blake Snell has received an offer from the Yankees. Oh, my God. So the Yankees going hard in the paint. The Metros are officially out of the running for Hader, which I think, a lot of us kind of saw coming. We have $10 million to play with to button up the final roster spots or to fill out the roster, to get some depth. Pitchers and catchers report in a month. And, so we're still looking at some infielders and some pitching. There's the word from a lot of insiders that the Mets have a preference for a left-handed arm. Brent Suter and Wandy Peralta are among the potential targets, along with right-hander John Brebbia. Suter spent the 2023 season with the Rockies, logged a 3.38 ERA, 18.8% strikeout rate, 8% walk rate, 46.5% grounder rate, and his a lot of weak contact, which is good to hear. His 84 mile per hour average exit velocity and 26.3% hard hit rate and 3.3% barrel rate all ranked in the 97th percentile of better among MLB pitchers. Damn, dude. Underrated signing. I freaking love it. Since making his MLB debut back in 2016, he touts a lifetime career ERA of 3.49. And since he's moved to a relief role in 2020, he's logged a 3.16 ERA with a 21.4% strikeout rate and 7.6% walk rate. So very under the radar, underrated signing. And that is kind of what I was hoping for this offseason. Don't give me names because they're names. Give me dudes that just go out there and ball and perform. And maybe they don't get the awards and the accolades and the achievements. They're not mentioned in any kind of postseason awards or preseason prospectus or whatever. But they just get the job done and they get it done well. And they just fly under the radar. Give me all those dudes. So that is a prime example of a guy that's like, yes, thank you. And then Wander Peralta from 2021, the past 3 seasons, he's logged 153 innings of 2.82 ERA ball with a 21% strikeout rate, 10.2% walk rate, and a huge 56.5% ground ball rate. He's in the 88th percentile or better in terms of average exit velocity in each of the past 4 seasons. Again, sign me up, dude. But those are targets. Those are guys that we have not signed. But, man, it'd be nice to get them in the mix. And then Brebbia is 33. He spent the past 3 seasons with the Giants out in San Fran. Fared quite well. Posted an ugly 5.89 ERA in only 18 innings back in 21. But that was his first season back from Tommy John. And since then, he's worked to a 3.47 ERA and a little over 106 innings the past 2 seasons. He's worked mostly as a setup man, but was also a frequent opener, which is cool. And he's fresh off a career-best 29.2% strikeout rate. In 6 big league seasons between the Cardinals and Giants, he logged a 3.42 ERA with better than average strikeout and walk rates, respectively. So, I mean, Can $10 million land us all three of those dudes? My guess is no. But I think to come away with at least one of those guys would be pretty sweet, because I really need to look into the state of our bullpen, because I feel like there's been, we've lost a lot of dudes, and I don't know, we've retained a lot of guys, and I don't even know if the guys that we have retained are something that you want to write home about. Moving on to the international signings, we signed Vlad Guerrero Jr., son of Vlad Guerrero, so that's pretty cool. We now have, we have some baseball royalty in our midst amongst our ranks with Acuna's brother and now Guerrero's son. So we're building something, we're building for the future, which is good to see. And hopefully, if they're even half of or 3/4 of their heritage, their ancestors, then their lineage, their family tree, then I think we're in a good spot. We also signed another international signing of note, Giovanni Rodriguez, catcher. $2.85 million signing bonus. He's a Venezuelan native. It was the number 6 prospect in MLB pipeline. Whoa. So that's interesting. It's like we already have Francisco Alvarez, young dude, 21, 22. I assume this guy is probably like 16. I'd have to say 16, 17, maybe at the youngest. So, I don't know. Maybe it's like we don't have complete faith and trust in Francisco Alvarez. It's an interesting move in my eyes. Pete Alonso did not go to arbitration with the Metros. He signs a 1-year, $20.5 million deal. It's up from $14 million last year and $7 million the year before that. So, increase it by 7 every year. So maybe next year he's $27 million a year. No, not worth it. I don't know. He's only 29 years old. You got to figure I think he's got another 5 years in him. At least 4. I think he's got another 4 or 5 years in him. So that's the question. If he wants 8 years, you're going to give him 8, knowing that half of that deal is going to be bunk, dude. His batting line of 217, 318, 504. That's batting average, sluggo, and on base, and then sluggo. From last year, translated to a WRC plus of 121, indicating he was 21% above league average at the plate. So my thoughts. Like, sign up. I want him to be a lifelong Met. I think he wants to be a lifelong Met. It's just they're still far apart, And the same article that I was reading was saying that, like, if the team is not in contention at the trade deadline, that he's a trade candidate. It's like, ooh, that's tough, because he brought so much energy to this franchise. You think about where the Mets were in 2019, coming off back-to-back no postseason efforts. The 2017 campaign, by all counts, was a fucking nightmare, where like everyone got hurt. And then 2018 was a downer. And so 2019 comes along. This new guy comes along. They're not sure if he's going to be the starting first baseman, and he just goes out and ends up cranking 50-plus home runs, a rookie record. And he's, there's no question about his power, his ability to hit home runs. There's no question about it. I guess the downside, or what the detractors say, they point to last season when he just, but honestly, dude, you have to attribute that to the wrist. He just came back way too quick from the wrist thing after he got hit. So, I think he struggled for a long time, because I think that wrist was not 100%. And it's such a vital, it's just like so important, to his hitting. So that's kind of hard to see and read and hear, that he's a trade candidate if we're out of contention, because like it feels like a lot of people are predicting that we're going to finish 3rd or 4th, and that's probably not going to be good enough for the postseason, that we're going to miss the postseason again. That just seems like the vibe that I'm getting, But then again, it's like, I don't know. Weren't people saying that about XYZ? The Diamondbacks, or the Diamondbacks, dude. So I don't pay much mind to what the predictions say, because every time they predict us going to the World Series, we do not. And every time they don't, we do. So, count us out. Count us out. I'm all for it. because that means that we'll exceed expectations. And I think Pete Alonso will be a big factor. I think he's going to have a really it's wild to call it a bounce back year, but I guess it's a bounce back year. I just don't see him having the prolonged slumps that he did last season, you know? New manager, new hitting coach, new bench coach, just a new set of dudes to kind of guide him. And I think they're going to, I mean, I don't know much about the guys that we've hired, but apparently the manager's a player's coach and can get the most out of his players. And while Buck was more of a lay back and let the vets handle the biz, not interfere, a laissez-faire kind of attitude, having trust in the veterans to provide that leadership, that's not the case with this new manager and the new coaching staff. I don't think so. It's like, maybe they can get the best out of Pete Alonso. And that means not relying on him to just figure it out and bust out of the slump on his own. He's 29, so he's not a young dude, but still, sometimes a guy like that needs a little guidance and can't figure it out on his own, because I think he even said he was pressing too much. Did Buck go to him and say, hey, don't press so much? Is that enough? Hey, don't press so much. Or do you work with him and say, hey, XYZ, And then I'll finish out by just noting that Bud Harrelson passed away at the age of 79. He battled Alzheimer's for an extended period, which is just awful. And I would do anything to avoid that, but I don't know. Gold Glove shortstop, played 13 years in Queens. He appeared in more games at shortstop than anyone else in franchise team history. I do not, I'm 43, born in 80, so I did not see a lot of his playing days. I am more familiar with him as the third base coach of the 86 World Champions, most notably waving, I believe it was Ray Knight, in the go-ahead run in the 86 World Series Game 6, when Mookie hit a little dribbler down the line. So that's how I know Buddy Harrelson. That's how I remember him. I vaguely remember him taking over manager duties in 1990 after Davey Johnson was canned. Ooh, baby. Mid-season. Vaguely remember that. He did, but when he was playing, he signed with the Mets as a 19-year-old. He made a pair of All-Star games in 1970, 70, and 71. Finished among the top 5 NL shortstops in fielding percentage each year from 1969 to 1972. He was a defensive shortstop. His offensive numbers were, whoa. I think he hit maybe 1 home run, 2 home runs in his entire Mets career. So next up, so it's third base coach for the 86 team, manager of the 90 team. I think he was, and then he was fired in 91, I think, as Mets manager. But so those are the 2 that I most remember about him. And then the third is they always, and I see it on social media, I see it on SNY during games, at least once a year, show his bench clearing brawl with the Reds in the 73 NLCS. Or was it 72 NLCS? I think it was 73 NLCS, the year we went to the World Series against the A's. When Pete Rose took a hard slide, I guess Harrelson made some comments about the Reds, one of the Mets pitchers making the Reds offense look like how Buddy Harrelson hits, and he's not a hitter. First of all, self-deprecating, and the fact that the Reds would get pissed about that is like, I guess the 70s. But Pete Rose took offense and decided to take him out at second with a hard slide, and that's when they went at it. So those are the 3 things that I remember about Buddy Harrelson the most. I don't remember much else from his playing days. He was inducted into the Mets Hall of Fame in 86, and I kind of forgot, the 90 Mets weren't bad. And they were played well enough to make the playoffs if it was today's modern playoff format. I know that much. 91-71, which I guess back in 1990 is what a bad season. But it's they probably would have made the playoffs and won the World Series, given how things have shaken out in recent postseasons in Major League Baseball. Finished second in the NL East, But Davey Johnson started the season 20-22, and then Bud Harrelson comes in and finishes out strong, 71-49. Atta boy. But yeah, whoops. You look at, like, if you had, so there's the East Division, the West Division, and the National League, right? We finished behind the Pirates. We were 4 games behind the Pirates, who finished 95-67. We had the same goddamn record as the Reds, who were in the West Division, who were the West Division champions, won the West Division, that pennant, but yet didn't make the playoffs. And lo and behold, the Reds ended up winning the World Series that year over the A's. Took down the Pirates 4-2, swept the A's. So it's like, who knows what the Mets would have done if they had gotten into the postseason, the big dance. So I think that following season was the beginning of the end, was the beginning of like a very bad Mets drought slump, right? Because it was 91. I mean, those were the dark years. 91 to 98, 97. 97, we started to play a lot better, and I think we had a good enough record to make the playoffs in the current format. And then 98 it got better. 99 playoffs, 2000 playoffs, World Series. So yeah, Buddy Harrelson, rest in power. So that's the episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I hope to, at the end of the week, possibly put out a nice life updates type situation. I think that might be good for the feed, for your brains, for your balls, because a lot's gone down in my life, and some of it shocking, some of it not so shocking. Actually, none of it shocking, to be honest, but some of it that you will definitely roll your eyes at. A lot of scoffing. I predict a lot of roasting and whatnot, so can't wait. But thank you, and we'll talk to you next time. Adios, muchachos.